Hey, good afternoon, guys, or good morning, or whenever you're watching this. Hey, inequalities in two triangles today. That's two triangles with inequalities. That's twice as unfair. Behold, the scissors jack. It's a tool used to lift cars. Some of you may have seen these before. Let's take a look. So, as you can see, there are parts to this. Um, Number one, you've got the top bracket, upper arm, lower arm, foot, screw. But what the important part about this is these two right here. These two triangles, oops, that are formed with these pieces here. Now we're going to watch a little videotape or little animation here, and we're going to see what happens when this screw is turned. All right, so as you notice in the animation, as the screw is turned, the triangles get squeezed. So the angle between the vertex angle of those isosceles triangles, the upper one and the lower one, they get squeezed in. So if you'll notice, this tells us something about what happens with triangles when angles are squeezed, right? We can have two sides the same, but as soon as that angle changes, it's going to make a difference in the length of the third side. So that's called the hinge theorem. If you think about a door has a hinge, and there is an angle between the door and the door opening or the sill. So as the door is swung open, the bigger the angle, the bigger the distance between, let's say, the latch and the door catch. So in layman's or in geometric terms, let's read through this. If two sides of a triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the included angle, which is the angle between the sides, in the first side, and the triangle is larger than the included angle of the second triangle, then the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second triangle. So basically what you're going to do is look for scenarios like this, and you're going to say, hey, this is larger, this is smaller. Therefore, this segment's longer and this segment is shorter. Now the converse of this hinge theorem is this. If I've got two triangles and within those triangles I've got some congruences between sides, um, basically what happens, so if I have this scenario, I have JL is congruent to PR, this, KL is congruent to RQ. Well, I can see here that 15 is smaller and this is larger. Therefore, this angle L is going to be smaller than angle R. That's all we're doing here. This is pretty easy stuff, smaller and larger. So let's do some example problems now. We want to find the relationship between WX and XY. Well, we can sit here and we can look and say, well, this is 51, so this is a smaller measurement, and this is the larger measurement. So just draw your little arrow here, and I see that this is the smaller goes to the smaller, and this larger goes to the larger. So how can we express this mathematically? What we can say is Wx is less than xy. Or you could say xy is greater than wx. Both of those answers are correct. So if either one you put down on homework or homework quiz or anything like that, it's going to work. Okay, now we have angles that are two sides of the triangle are equal. This third side of the triangle, this one here that I'm doing in yellow, right here, that's congruent to itself. So this side here is larger, this side here is smaller. So we can say then that angle BFC is larger and angle FCD is smaller. So we can express this as the measure of angle FCD is larger than the measure of angle BFC. All right, so now we have to do a restriction problem. Now, restriction problems can be a little bit confusing, but we're going to set them up the same way, and then we're going to set up our algebraic expression, and then we're going to go and set up our expression. All right, we had to take a little break there. Anyway, we're back. So we are going to state that since we see that segment EJ is larger and segment EG is smaller, therefore we're going to set this up as larger and this up as smaller here. So we're going to say that 6x plus 15 is less than 65. So now we're going to do our algebra, and we're going to say that 6x, so we're going to subtract 15 from each side, and we end up with 6x is less than 50. We're going to divide each side by 6, and we're going to have that x is less than 25 thirds, because we're going to reduce that. Okay, so that's one part of this. Now the other part is this: 6x plus 15 must be, shoot, I set it up wrong. It's supposed to be greater than 65. So here we go. See, you got to catch your work. So let's do it all over again. That's what happens when I get distractions when I'm trying to do my work here. See, this is why you guys need to not have distractions when you're trying to do your work. So again, larger, smaller, larger here, smaller here. So 6x plus 15 is greater than 65. So now we're going to subtract 15 from each side again and end up with 6x is greater than 50. Divide each side by 6. X is greater than 25 thirds, okay, because we had to reduce. Now, we have to keep in mind that what's the smallest that this angle can be, right? So x is bigger than, so x is going to be, we're going to reverse this. This is the 25 thirds is less than x. But how big could x be? Well, x has got to be smaller than 180. So we set up our second part of our restriction. 6x plus 15 is less than 180. So 6x, subtract 15 from each side. I get 6x is less than 165. So x is going to be less than 27.5, which is, we can put that, we can do 27.5. I did that on the calculator real quick. You could have 27.5, or you could end up with 455 halves. This could be, and there goes my dog. So 25 thirds comes out to, this could be 8 1/3 or 25 thirds. So our final answer is going to be, let's say at 8 1/3 is less than x is less than 27.5. Now, keeping this in mind, if it was to go the other way, instead of it being less than 180, we would say that 6x plus 15 is greater than 0. So you've got to pay attention to that. Your second setup is going to be either less than or greater than, depending on how the setup is. But it's either going to be less than 180 or greater than 0. All right, so here we have more restrictions on x. So we know that this is 68 degrees. This is the larger angle. So 47 is the longer side. 5x plus 2 is going to be the smaller side. So we're going to say that 5x plus 2 is less than 47. You subtract 2 from each side. 5x is less than 45. Therefore, x is going to be less than 9. Okay, but now 5x plus 2 has got to be greater than 0, because 0 is the smallest length it could possibly be. So we're going to set up the second part of our restriction. So that's going to be 5x plus 2 is greater than 0. Subtract 2 from each side. 5x is greater than -2. Therefore, x is greater than -2/5. So our final answer, I'll put this in a different color here, is going to be -2/5 is less than x is less than 9. Well, I hope you found all the noise and everything else going on around here while I was trying to do this entertaining. Feel free to do the homework assignment, because we're going to have a homework quiz on this. So stay healthy. Talk to you soon.
That's all, folks.
You guys make too much noise.
Yeah.